Namaste everyone, welcome back to CodeCraft with Poonam and I'm coding mentor Poonam Agrawal. In our last video, we have built a complete recipe API with models and JSON, right? So if you've missed my previous videos, then do check it and then watch this video. But there's problem. Our code is getting messy as everything is crammed into the controller. So it is just like having one chef doing everything in the kitchen. It like taking orders at the counter, deciding the recipes to make, actually cooking the food, washing the dishes, managing the pantry. That one chef will burn out, right? So in this video, we are going to create a service layer. It is just like separating the kitchen chef from the counter. Okay. And here we are going to understand the dependency injection, which is nothing but our Spring's magic ingredient delivery. Okay. And here we are going to use few annotations. Okay. And here we are going to build a proper three-layer architecture for real-world applications. So now let's organize our restaurant app professionally. So in our last video, we have designed everything in our controller layer, right? That is our recipe controller. In that we have taken up the HTTP request. Okay. It is just like a waiter's job. Okay. So this is fine. Why? Because controller layer mainly manages all the requests. Okay. And in our recipe controller, what we have done, we decided which recipes to use, right? But it is the job of the chef, right? So for this, a separate chef need to be hired, right? We also stored and retrieved the data in controller layer itself, right? But it is the job of a pantry. So for that, you need to have a separate layer. And then we have written all our business logic in our recipe controller layer, right? But it is the job of a manager. For that, you need to have a separate layer. So as we have messed up all these things in only one layer, that is controller layer, it will be hard to test, as now it is a simple small application, right? But in reality, it will be very difficult to handle it. Okay. So for that, what you need to do, you need to have a good structure. Okay. So here it is. So professional architecture. That is, here we are going to divide all the jobs. Okay, layer wise. That is, in first layer we have a controller layer. Okay, so where we handle all the HTTP request and response, and then we have another layer. Okay, that is our service layer, where all the business logic and rules are written. Okay, and then we have another layer, that is third layer, which belongs to the repository, where we store and retrieve the data. Okay, so here, as we have separated the responsibilities, right, through layers, so this is called the separation of concerns. That is, here every class has one clear job. So you will have a separate controller class, separate service class, and separate repository class. Okay. Now coming to dependency injection. So here, what is dependency injection? So for your better understanding, so imagine a waiter need to do a chef work, like go to the culinary school and train a chef, build a kitchen for the chef, buy all the equipments for the chef, then ask the chef to cook. That's crazy, right? Instead, here the restaurant manager assigns a trained chef to the waiter. So, without dependency injection, what happens is, when a controller has to create the service itself, then it is too much responsibility for the service, for the controller layer, right? Why? Because the problem will be controller layer will be tightly coupled to the service implementations, and then it will be hard to test. Why? Because you can't swap fake services for the testing, right? If the service constructor changes, then controllers must also change, right? So here you can see that. controller instantiates if controller instantiates service, then what happens is controller need to create this recipe service and recipe repository. So it's just like chef building kitchen with ingredients, but the main purpose of chef is to cook, right? Not to build a kitchen and all the ingredients, right? So it is too much responsibility for a controller layer. If you add all the service layer, repository layer, things in the controller layer, right? So, and then controller uses service. Okay. So when controller layer uses the created recipe service to perform task, it's just like a waiter asking chef to cook a meal, right? So here the what the problem arise is if you put all the responsibilities on the controller layer, like handling all the requests, writing all the business logic, and loading, retrieving the data in the controller layer, then it is a very huge responsibility for the controller layer, right? Then the problem will be controller is tightly coupled, hard to test and brittle to changes, right? It's just like a broken chain connecting controller and service. Okay. So when you use dependency injection with Spring, then here Spring delivers a ready-made service to the controller. Okay. So here what Spring does it injects the service automatically. Okay. So here you no need to create the service manually. Okay. So here Spring IOC container will manage the service creation. Okay. So here IOC controller is nothing but so here IOC is nothing but inversion of control. Okay. So, which means that here you no need to create the object. Here Spring will take care of it. Okay. And then coming to constructor injection. So here Spring injects the service into the controller. Okay, you no need to manually do it. And then automatic service delivery. So here controller uses this injected service. Okay. So now coming to shift object creation control to Spring for IOC. So here you are not going to create an object. Okay, here Spring IOC does for us. Okay, so here without a dependency injection, you need to control the object creation. Okay, if you're using dependency injection, then Spring will control the object creation. Okay. So here the word inversion is nothing but who creates the object. Okay. So here we are not going to create the object. Okay. Here the inversion of control. The Spring IOC is going to create the object for us. Okay. So now coming to the Spring annotations. Okay. Here we have at the rate component, at the rate service, at the rate repository, at the rate rest controller. We have many annotations. Okay, this is few of them. So this we are going to use while building our code. Okay. So here at the rate component, this is just like general. Okay, the role of this component is any Spring managed component. Okay, so here Spring creates and manage the instance. Okay, next coming to at the rate service, this is just like a chef. Okay, here as chef mainly cooks the recipes, right? So in service layer we write all the business logic. So it is same as at the rate component plus semantic meaning. Okay. And then coming to at the rate repository, this is just like our pantry. Okay. So its role is to access the data layer. Okay. So this is also same as at the rate component plus exception translation. And then coming to at the rate rest controller, this is just like our waiter. Okay. Where all the HTTP requests are handled. Okay. This is same as at the rate component and at the rate response body. Okay. So here all these annotations tell Spring that hey, manage me. I need to be injected. Okay. So here all of these are discovered by Spring's component scan. Okay. So here what the Spring does is it scans your package and finds all the annotated classes, and then it creates the instances and inject them where it is needed. Okay, so that is like we have service layer, so we annotate it by at the rate service. Okay, and then we have repository layer, right? So there we will, that class we are going to annotate it with at the rate repository. As you have seen that uh, we have annotated our controller layer, right? Using annotation at the rate rest controller, similarly with service and repository. Okay, so here you can see components scan. Component scan streamlines Spring development. Okay, so here if you don't use component scan, okay, then what will happen? Then you have to manually manage the components. Okay, you have to manually create the instances. You have to manually inject the dependencies. Whereas if you use this component scan, what will happen? Automatically component management happens. It will automatically create the instances. It will automatically inject the dependencies. Okay. So we will see the example in our next video. So this is for today's video. In our next video, we are going to build our three-layer restaurant. Okay. So if you like my video, then hit the like button and let me know through comment, and share it with your circle so that it will be helpful to them. And do not forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you will not miss any of my videos. Till then, keep learning, keep growing. This is Poonam Agrawal from CodeCraft with Poonam signing off.